Hello and welcome to Nasarawa Focus, reaching you from the Government House in Lafia. I am Maria Olasheinde. Indeed, the present administration of the Governor of Nasarawa State, Umaru Tanko Almakura, has been transformative in various sectors. Today on the program, we'll be focusing on the education opportunity by this government for special people in the state. Stay with us, we'll be back in a jiffy. Welcome back. There are now vistas of opportunities for vulnerable citizens of Nasarawa State. The Umaru Tanko Almakura-led administration established a comprehensive special school for people living with disabilities. Sit back and enjoy the special package. The problem of disability is growing all over the world. Persons with disabilities are more likely to experience adverse socioeconomic outcomes than persons without disabilities, such as less education, poorer health outcomes, lower levels of employment, and higher poverty rates. Just like every other places in the world, Nasarawa State has children and adults living with one disability or another. Many of these children were born with visual impairment, hearing impairment, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, or physical challenges. The government is saddled with the responsibility of considering them in its policies to care for their needs. The Governor Umaru Almakura's administration in Nasarawa State took a proactive approach in investing in the physically challenged by educating them from primary to tertiary level. The state government created a school for children with special needs. On February the 6th, the Nasarawa State government opened the comprehensive special school in Lafia. The school was inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari during his official visit to the state. The state governor, Umaru Tanko Almakura, says the special school is to provide individual care to children with learning difficulties.
We'll concentrate on providing individual care to our children with learning difficulties, especially those with special needs in areas of vision impairment that people popularly call the blind, those with hard of hearing that people call the deaf people, physically challenged that we call the cripple, and of course those with cerebral palsy that are popularly known as autism or Down syndrome. To ensure maximum benefit and inclusiveness, we have made their education totally free, right from primary up to tertiary level.
The Lafia Comprehensive School is a demonstration of our collective ambition to uplift the standard of living of all Nigerians through social investment policies. This school will cater for the deaf, the blind, and other physically challenged. Indeed, this is a clear example of our inclusive policy where no child, man or woman, will be left behind. This is a well thought out initiative to give hope to a key segment of the society that has been ignored and neglected by the previous governments. We must help our disabled to distribute to their development and self-reliance.
The school is now fully operational. Many special needs children whose parents had lost hope are here to learn. They do not need to worry about transportation. Buses are on ground to convey the children from their various homes to school every morning and drops them after closing. On March the 21st, the World Down Syndrome Day, Governor Almakura decided to celebrate the day with children at the special school. The governor has made the school his second home, and the children are always happy to see him around. With qualified special education teachers, the children are assimilating very well.
Is the ball. Yes, sir. Aisha, this is mixing, isn't it? Yes, sir. Just as if we're in this class, we are what? We are mixed. Improper fractions and a easy fraction.
The environment of the school is so beautiful and conducive for learning. You could even mistake it for a tertiary institution. As I was looking round the gigantic school, the Commissioner for Special Education, Science and Technology drove in. I met with the Honorable Commissioner, Professor Jonathan Ayuba, who offered me a peep into what prompted the Almakura-led administration to create such a school in the States. Commissioner, I'd like you to elaborate more on what prompted Governor Almakura Tanko to create a big school like this for the special needs.
About the vision of the school, but beyond that also you have to look at the position of this category of children that we have. They are the most vulnerable. They come from the less privileged, and as a result of that, the education is quite expensive. When you look at the conventional schools we have, they're educating our children, and then you look at those with special needs, the education is more expensive. And if they come from a background that doesn't have the resources to send them to the right schools, then it is the responsibility of the government. And because it's a government of compassion, this is the government that we have in Nasarawa State, the government that is for the people, that looks for the vulnerable. And to us, how do we bring more meaning to their lives? It's not just by flinging a coin to a beggar and then you're thinking you are helping. The best we can do is to educate them so that they can be meaningful citizens of this country. So once you educate them, you give them the equal opportunity. As often we say in this school, we don't need your pity, we don't need your sympathy. All we want is the opportunity. And that is why Governor Almakura is trying to provide that enabling environment, giving them the equal opportunity so that they can compete and then contribute meaningfully. That is the essence of it. So to us, as I've already said, it is a support network that we're trying to build in order to enable them participate. So the issue of, if you can look at that based on disability like autism, that's different because there are those that have slow kind of progress in their intellectual development. But also that is why now you have this environment so that we can now go at their pace so that they can also be part of this system. Once we give them the opportunity, we provide the environment, then they can be as good as you and me.
Okay, let's talk about encouragement. Encouraging these children can be challenging. So what other efforts do you put in place to ensure that these children are happy to come to school?
The parents are vulnerable. They don't have the money to send them to schools that will look after them properly, to provide them with the necessary academic environment. And that is why from the beginning the school is free. We provide their uniforms, we feed them, and also we look after them. At this initial stage that we're doing is we always bring them in the morning because we're trying to start a boarding facility. And when you look at the environment, it's welcoming, it's calming, and look at the class setting, and you look at the provision of free food, free uniform, and also the teaching staff, the equipment that we have, the attention we give to these children. It's this environment that really triggers most of them to come in, and then you can see coming in happily every morning because a routine has been established, a welcoming environment, and an environment that cares and caters for them. So these are the basic things that we've put in place to encourage, and parents now are being encouraged to send their children, and the children now are happy in an environment they feel welcome and they feel looked after.
Now let's talk about the facilities. A big school like this, I know it's not going to be easy acquiring funds, then getting the facilities. What facilities do you have in place to cater for the needs of these children?
When you talk about facility, we can look at it in different ways. When you look at the equipment that is necessary for educating our kids, because that's a primary thing that the school is established. Yes, we've done that. And as you can see in all the classrooms, this is even more sophisticated than most of the conventional schools. You have smart boards in the class that they are needed. We have like the blind, we have braille machines, the embuzzer. We even have softwares in their computers that help them in their resource room for teaching. And then we have trained staff that are qualified to handle that category of people. And then when you look at the deaf and of hard hearing, the resource room is also there, the language lab, because most of them need some language therapy. But importantly, we have an audiology clinic within the school, because some of these problems that we're having with deaf children, some of them are some residue of elements in there. So once you do cleaning and stuff and you've tested them well, you can correct them. We're also taking our time in order to ensure that we assess each and every child so that we can now tailor his education, we can tailor all his needs around what we think will be best for him. That's why you see we've been delaying starting the boarding, because we want to get their medical records sorted. We want to see if some of them on medication. Also, we need to understand their eating habit and eating pattern, allergies and all those things. Once we've done that, in the next 1 month, we're going to start from one stream to the other and then gradually to absorb them into the boarding system.
Okay, you already told me that the education is free. Okay, so what is the admission process and criteria of admitting the children into the school? Open to everybody?
It's open to everybody in the country. It's not even, we've not restricted it to Nasarawa State. It's a free service. That's what, as a government, we can do to the people. And to us, since these are vulnerable sets of people, how do we encourage? We cannot put barrier in the admission process. Once you are disabled, that is a qualification. We provide you with your uniform, we provide you with your food, we provide you with everything that you need. And it is not even just for Nasarawa State indigents, it's open, free for everybody in this country.
So let's talk about your challenges. What are the challenges you're passing through?
Normally for a big project of this kind, you have to have feeding problems. And one of the major problems that we had initially is getting the right people, because this is not just a conventional school that you just say, okay, we'll just get somebody that's read education, but also beyond that, you have others that have read special education, but do they have the experience to handle? Also the commitment, because a teacher is somebody that loves his job, and then you need to love these children, and then you have to have more than enough patience to handle them, because sometimes some of them have behavioral problem, which is not necessarily their fault, but the condition they are in. And we've been able to overcome that, because once there is a commitment, then the resources is not a problem. And since this school has been established, we've been having the full support of His Excellency Governor Tonko Almakura, because he's passionate about it. And the joke around here is that he is the principal, because he ensures, he comes here virtually 2-3 times in a week to ensure that things are working fine. And if you have that degree of commitment, most of these problems, because they can be resolved on the spot. So initial feeding problems, but because the attention we receive, the commitment of the government and the governor makes it more easier for us to operate, and it has given us the leverage to achieve what we have achieved so far. We establish special education departments in our institutions for capacity building. So what we've done is to even fund the establishment of special education in College of Education Akwanga and Nasarawa State University, and we've provided them with the necessary equipment, the materials needed, so that for capacity building, we want a continuity so that there is this kind of a synergy between this school and our tertiary institutions. So for capacity building, training and retraining, that has been sorted out. We are also collaborating with other agencies and other universities like University of Jos. And that is why you see when we started this school, so far this is the only school in Nigeria that uses the adapted curriculum. The only institution in Nigeria. This is the first of its kind. We've developed the curriculum, a tailored curriculum for each of the disabilities, and in order to really probe up these young children, to educate them. And the other aspect also is we are trying to, because the laws we are now preparing, that law and that we're going to present, we're going to make this school self-accounting so that it will be receiving subvention from the government directly. It will be self-accounting. It will hire, fire, do everything within the budget that it, and then as a government, we're going to make a law in which this school will have its own subvention, because yes, because it's quite expensive. But also there's a commitment from the governor in which we're going to have a board of trustees in which he has already agreed he is going to be here till the last days of his lives in the world here, because he wants to commit his personal money to ensure a continuity. So we have a solid foundation and we have a commitment. Even when he leaves office, he's going to personally use his wealth to make sure this school continues. But beyond that also, as you, this is not the only one we have in Nasarawa State. We have 3 of these schools in Nasarawa State. So we have one in Lafia here, one in Akwanga zone, one in Kefi zone. So the general idea is that by the end of the year, this will just be strictly primary. So we're going to groom them, train them, and then that of Akwanga will be secondary, junior secondary. Either Kefi or Akwanga will be junior, one will be senior secondary. So you have that network that the quality that will give will be of international standard. Our students here can compete favorably globally with other students. So that is what we have put in place, and we're putting in place to ensure that this school is sustainable, this school can outlive this administration.
So what's the feedback like from the society?
Great, yeah. When you look at a free school, you're providing support to the family, you're educating their children, because most of these parents, especially kids with autism, because they can't fit in the conventional school, the parents always have them at home. It's a relief to some of these parents that at least you can take their children out for some hours, you look after them, you feed them, and you can see also the joy, because they make new friends, they are in a new environment. Some of them, actually, the parents have been reporting to us, they've seen improvement in the development of their kids. So generally, this is a good gesture of the government in which people are quite happy.
Any plans on ground after this, they pass the primary stage, secondary, and go to the tertiary institution? Any plan on ground for the government to employ them, automatic employment?
Well, we already have a policy on ground that we pay those in the tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Those within the state don't pay. Those outside the state, we pay. So there's a bursary, automatically we pay for them. And in terms of employment also, it's automatic. And when we say automatic, people have this misconception that because you are disabled, but because we don't want a situation to create a two-tier kind of a system, because all, as I've said earlier, is that we have those that are qualified, and once they are qualified, we give them automatic employment. Finish your degree, automatically you are assured of a job. This is a policy that we've been doing before now, and this is a policy we hope the next government will continue. But what we do as a government is the education of a disabled child in Nasarawa State from nursery to the university level is free. If it's outside the state, we as a state will fund it. If it's within the state, we also pay these institutions, and those that graduate and are qualified, that have graduated and are qualified, automatically we give them employment. So it's already a policy of government in Nasarawa State.
The commissioner took me on a tour of the school to have a good view of the facility on ground.
So this is the dining hall, a capacity of 1,500. So their meals will be cooked. The kitchen there, we'll have a chef. At the moment, it's the chef of the governor that cooks for them. So their food always comes from the government house.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's what we do at the moment. And this is the classes and the resource room. So here we have the deaf and the blind. How are you? So this is the junior blind club.
How are you?
She's not hearing English. When you speak out, she's vocal.
Okay.
When you speak out, she will speak up.
Okay. Yeah, there. Napana.
Aisha, can I say something about?
This is the lab. Yeah, so that it also has for mentorship. All we've equipped everything. Yeah, it's just to start. For minor illnesses that we can put them here, there's a hospital just about 10 minutes drive from here. Okay. So we'll just keep them here for minor cases, and then serious cases to take them to the hospital. Promptly, as a resident doctors, by the time we start the board, and I'll show you the staff quarters there, everybody's here. So the teachers are here, the matron is here, the doctor is here, the nurses are here.
The children's feeding has also been taken care of by the Nasarawa state government, and lunch is always served at the dining hall. Hope has now been given to these kids. Emmanuel Ajay is one of the special children. He told me he could neither read nor write well before he enrolled into the school. Now Emmanuel can read clearly, thanks to the opportunity given to him by Governor Umar Tanko Almakura.
Her name was Ralia, but people call her Sugar Girl. She was poor because her mother and father very poor. She did not have all good things which other girls have, but she was happy, and all the same, she was happy because she was good, and all good people are happy. We are very, very happy in Nasarawa State. All, even me, are happy for this thing where our excellence do it for us.
The school is set to chart a way and future for Emmanuel and other children living with disabilities.
When we started, we think that we cannot even realize the number of students we have today. This suffices to say that a lot of awareness is now created in the disabled persons as well as their parents. And that actually gives us some pride, and it's even capturing beyond Nasarawa State. I think we have made a lot of impact, and progress is ongoing, despite the fact that we have not even started. We are still at the pilot scheme.
Governor Marutanko Almakura has continued to put in place measures to facilitate equal access to public spaces, facilities, technology, systems, and services for persons living with disabilities in urban and rural areas of Nasarawa states. Touching lives of vulnerable citizens of the state and also investing in the physically challenged is a cause that the Almakura administration is so passionate about. And that has been the focus this week. Do join us again next week for another package. I am Maria Olashaide. Bye for now.